Sylvia Career Podcast, where we have conversations that matter. Just before we do today's conversation, let's recap what we spoke about in the last episode, which was really interesting. We spoke about career, leadership, and money. And we talked about how financial literacy is an important subject that cannot be ignored. And we also touched a little bit of how little ones need to be exposed as early as it's as early as possible when it comes to financial literacy. Reason being that their adult life is always stemming from what they learned when they were a little bit younger. In fact, adulthood behavior is what was formed when they were children. So go ahead and watch that episode because it is going to help you. All right, so today's conversation, we are going to speak about our careers and our places of work and the impact of an employer relationship with your career advancement. And also the fact that sometimes we may think that when we work for a certain brand, it's going to help us navigate, or rather get hired first if you're seeking for other employments, or rather if you're looking for better job offers or other positions. Yes. So in as much as your employer, your previous workplace, has some bearing on how well you will perform in a particular field, it is not entirely true that your association with the brand determines your next hire or how well you will advance in your career, or having worked to a certain brand is better than having worked to another. That is a myth that needs to be debunked, and today I'm going to speak about that at length. Yes, so I'll give a few reasons why it is important you as a person in your career to build your own personal brand. Yeah, you're not going to depend on the brand of who you're working for to open other doors for you when your employment has ended, when your contract has ended, or you are retrenched, or rather, if you go through a redundancy process. I remember a conversation that we had previously with a friend, and this conversation was an interesting one because they were like, you've worked this place before, you're going to land jobs faster. But then life, as it were, showed that really it had no bearing, and that statement is not entirely true. It is up to you as an individual to work for yourself in seeking the opportunities and not depending on where you've worked at before to help you getting a new job. Really. So you need to build your own personal brand. You will not just hide yourself in riding in your employer's brand as a way of advancing in your career. Reason being, an hiring manager will not be looking at the brand. It will be looking at the skill of the person they are hiring. So gone are the days where you would think you have an added advantage if you've worked for company X and Y over company A and B, Those are things that are slowly becoming cliche because with the technological advancement and the dynamic world that we live in and the way everything is fast-paced, every experience is worthwhile, and it doesn't matter where the experience was. The thing is, what skill do you have? Are they transferable? And you as a person, what are you bringing into the table? What are you about? So the importance of building your brand as a person is very important. You cannot ignore that you don't need a personal brand. In fact, statistics show that personal brands are growing at faster rate compared to company brands at the moment. If you can use an example of Virgin Atlantic's CEO, their personal brand is way bigger than the company they are CEO of. That is just one example that you can use. So this means that we can no longer ignore our personal brands. Yeah? And you not having a personal brand is also having a brand and letting people decide what you are about. So because you can control the narrative, it is important for you as a person to grow your personal brand. And then also over-dependence on the brand where you work for to advance means you really do not have anything much as a person. Yeah, it shows that you are just riding on them. You have nothing to show for yourself. So while it looks like prestigious, it is also always driving the prestige of the other, of where you've worked for, rather than you building you as a person. So it is important for you to work on your personal brand. And a personal brand does not mean online only. A personal brand is both offline and online. And in this personal brand, it is not for specific people. A personal brand is important for everyone. Yes. And having a personal brand means what do you want people to perceive you as? Or rather, what do you want people to know you for? And that's it. It doesn't mean one thing. You can be many things, but you choose one thing that you want to be known for. And that is what opens doors for people out here. While you're doing job shopping, you can use your personal brand to work for you. Yeah. So how do we build a personal brand? It's both offline and online. When you're building your personal brand online, it means you have you are active on the social media, and social media depends where you are in. Myself, I prefer working with LinkedIn because I get to interact with the people that I can identify, and we are aligned in terms of that. So that will enable you to be known and to be, if a recruiter is looking for a specific skill to hire, they will not go seeking for employers or rather people who have worked in a certain company. No, they'll be looking at individuals who are showcasing skills that they are looking for. So lately, there was a conversation also that I had in the recent past about the upcoming, or rather the growing overuse of this on LinkedIn. Yeah, you notice that if you look at someone's profile, they write their name, and then after that it is X company Y. So X company Y, honestly, if I was a recruiter, I am not one at the moment, would I be searching for X company Y when I'm looking for a person or for somebody to hire? I don't think so. We'll be looking for the skills and what we want for this person to do. What is the job? And then do they possess the necessary skills? So yes, the myth again that you need to put that X for it to give you wider reach is not availing much, because nobody uses X to search on the LinkedIn. You will just be looking for people with specific skill set. So using that is not really an added advantage anymore, because it just shows that then what are you about? It looks like you are just being behind a certain brand and not you as a person. So that is reason number one. Nobody would be able to be searching using such terminologies to get you. The reason number two is you really are not confident enough to share what you are about, if that is all. So rather than searching, writing product manager, let me just use product manager, or rather product manager X company Y, you would write product manager and then showcase what you have done at company Y, not necessarily using the X part. There is a part of where you can reframe and make your experience at company Y avail much for you. Yes, I am not saying that we totally disregard that we've worked in other places or other big brands. Yes, we will not erase the fact that they have given us the platforms, they've given us the skills, or rather they've given us experience, which makes it a part of who we are. But it doesn't end there. That is not your full story. That is just part of the story. So when you're narrating about yourself in your career, you would say, I have managed to bring revenue by this much at company Y. Not the X company Y is not having that. It's not the full story. And then also, it can also look like might bring unnecessary questions when we write X this, because I don't know why the word X is always has a negative connotation. Of course, it's always been like that, but you look at it in this way that it looks like the person who is writing X company Y might not have been happy to leave, or it just raises questions which are not necessary. Hence, it is important for us just to quantify and explain more of what we did in company X, or rather company Y, instead of using X company Y in your profile. So another reason why we can drop that, or rather the reason why we should avoid that using the X, is that it doesn't really show impact of what you did if you just wrote X this without any further explanation. Or rather, it avails much if you just wrote, I led project this, which was saving this amount of money into the company, and then that way it would be able to bring value to whoever is looking to hire you. Another reason why we ought to drop that is because it is also showing, it might give you, it might cage you on where you want to get opportunities to work. For example, if you've quoted a big brand, whoever is hiring would be thinking you're still looking for the brands that are of that caliber. Yes, it is good if you have narrowed down to the specifics that you want to work, but it can become a limitation to you. It doesn't give you, you're not casting out, you're not giving an open kind of room for you to work in different places. So that means your transferable skills, you are limiting it to the same level of where your previous employer was like, and that can be a disadvantage if you wanted to pivot completely outside of the industry. So you would not want to use the X because of that. Another part is that it can work against you because they would think that because company X has this reputation, they would think you're looking for companies which are only paying a certain salary range, which might cause you be left out. You miss out opportunities because of the perceived you're looking for the specific company because you want to get X and Y. So they would imagine even inflated remuneration, which might not be necessarily true. We know that salary is always a very sensitive matter, or rather remuneration of what you get in an employment is a very sensitive matter. Other people still prefer it to keep it closed. Others discuss it openly. So it's something that you need to be discerning on what you want to achieve while you're putting search. So having said that, I want to emphasize that it is not entirely wrong to mention where you've been working from, or rather where you've worked before. If anything, it gives you, it enables you to share your experience and be able to bring out what you are capable of when you include that, but avoiding the phrases that are not necessarily value add will be very good for you in your career advancement. So that is one aspect of that, using the phrase X in your personal brand. It's not adding much, but it can really work against you. So another part where we want to speak about our career advancement is networking. Yeah, I know many people think that networking events are for people who just wants to hang out. That is not true because people hire who they know, and I am not talking about knowing in terms of the negative aspects of just hiring someone because they are close to you, or because they are you know them by maybe your interactions. No, I don't mean that only. It means that people prefer to hire whom another person has referred to in terms of they can vouch for. So that's the aspect of hiring who they know. Knowing, not in a way of showing corruption, all that. No, that's not the aspect. That's not what I'm talking about. It is hiring who you know because you know they are able to execute the role or who they are about, Somebody, how they show up and how they do their things will really be gotten. Somebody will get to know that in a networking event. So when you go to the networking event, there are people who, when they introduce you to somebody, that person would want to know more about you. And most of the time, those roles that are open in many organizations would be replaced, or rather, the positions will be filled via referral. So that means you need to build relationships with people. You need to build relationships with those who matter. Yeah, because in those networking events, you're able to also learn something, one or two, from a person who is in that networking event. And also, it also opens you as a person to a wider scope, or rather, you get to learn from the people you network with in a networking event. An example, I recently attended a networking event, and this networking event was talking about great insights about LinkedIn. Yeah, in as much as I wasn't looking for a position, it was very interesting to know the insights and the trends and the algorithm, which is really important in if you are a content creator for that matter, that is important info for you to learn. So in that networking event, I was really able to get the insights on content that we share, the importance of consistency, not that I didn't know, but in a different angle. I looked at it in a very different angle. And then also the use of tools also while you're doing your creative work, because truth is we have AI, everybody is now leveraging it, but it cannot be the main thing that we use to work. It's just a collaborative tool, but it cannot do everything entirely for you. You still have to do the proper prompting. You still have to read the things that you do, that you are posting, so that you see it makes sense. Otherwise, it will just be whatever you have put in, it will just generate for you out, and that would be it. So networking events does also give you industry insights of where you're going, so that you can make better decisions for you. So that is that about your career and networking events. It's very important because you also get to learn other insights. All right, so let me speak about also when you are in your career journey and advancement. It is important for you to write your story yourself. Why am I saying that? I know out there are many people who can help you work on your LinkedIn profile, and can help you work on your CV, or resume. There are people out there who are very good and they are experts at writing that. But there is need for you to own your story. And owning the story is you doing it for yourself. As a coach who handle people in mid-careers, I get to see many people asking me whether I could help them write their CV. Yeah, it's something that it is not that it's difficult to do it, but I discourage requesting somebody else to do your CV. Why? Because it would miss the voice. It would miss your authenticity. It would miss the energy which you would exude when you're writing your own CV, or rather resume. Yeah. And even if somebody else has written for you, however smart it is, you have to internalize it and make sure that you are actually presenting that which exactly you showed in your CV. For example, if you earn yourself an interview, then you go attend the interview session, it would be very important for you to be that person who wrote that CV. Otherwise, there will be a disconnect. And of course, whenever there is a disconnect, it would mean that it's not relatable to so who is this person who I read on paper and who is this person I am seeing in real life. So it's important for you to own your story. So I would encourage everyone to craft their own story, because you miss a lot when somebody else does. They will just write as per what they think about you. In as much as you would have told them how you want it done, there is something that will miss about you that can only be done for you that can only be done by you. Yes, there is the whole universe could be waiting for you to say your story. But now when somebody else is doing it for you, you will not be showing that real you and the person we are hoping to connect with. So that is the importance of you writing your own story. Just the way I said, including where you've worked before is important, yes, but it's just an aspect of your story. It's not the full story. The full story is for you to write, and it is for you to share with the whole world. And that's what everyone is waiting for. Who knows, maybe whatever you've been keeping to yourself for the longest time is the magic that will cause you to advance in your career. In my own life, let me just give a story of who I became after some time. So when I was doing my career, I remember I'd reached a plateau, which is identifiable to the audience, or rather the people I coach, is I had reached a place where I had felt stuck. So when I chose to do a different thing, totally different from what I was doing, it opened a door which I had never imagined that it would open. An example is who I coach right now are people who have gone through the similar story I went through, and helping them to take the quantum leap and become the best self is my joy as a coach. So when you choose to do something different, or owning your story, which I had been holding back for a very long time, opened doors in ways that I had never imagined. Because, in fact, when I did my courses on coaching, I thought I'm doing it to coach myself. Little did I know that I was going to use it to coach others. So when I was doing the certifications, it was purely out of wanting to coach me to become better. But of course, it came in full measure and even running over, because the skill that I acquired when going through the certification has also helped me to help others. So I had not intended to use it for coaching later, earlier. But of course, I knew coaching is what I am passionate about. But at that time when I was taking it, that was not in the picture. It was just to help me advance in where I was going. So that is an example of how you can advance in your career by also owning your story, not letting other people control your narrative. You are the one who knows your story, and so tell it. It is going to encourage somebody else, and it is going to help another person in advancing. So that is a point that we've talked about. That is owning your story, writing your CV. Now let's talk about writing your LinkedIn profile. I know there are people who feel they are so busy, they are not able to do that. But it will not cost much for you to learn to do it for yourself, because you will be putting, again, the voice and the energy behind that LinkedIn profile, because you will be communicating what you want to communicate, not what somebody else has imagined that you want to communicate. Because it's one thing to have somebody do the work for you and another doing it yourself, because there is an aspect which only you can do and not somebody else. So in summary, let's go out there and work on our personal brand, control the story, or rather own the narrative, say your story yourself, because nobody else can see who you are better than you can do it. Yeah, nobody can write content the way you would, and nobody has the experience that you have. Your experience is yours. It might look similar, but it cannot be exact as mine or as somebody else. So go out there, do your everyday, knowing that you own your story. And your story is the one that when you tell it to the world, it is going to open doors for you. Who knows? A person could just be looking for the exact thing that you were doing, and they are looking forward to you having you in their team or in their business or in their organization. So that's it for today. Have a nice day, and let's meet in the next episode of the Sylvia Career Podcast, where we have conversations that matter.